Well, good morning. A very warm welcome here to Valkenburg in the Netherlands as we get ready to bring you a weekend of thrilling racing from the UCI Cyclocross World Championships.
Australia, number 80, Alexander Matthews. For Germany, number 40, Pascal Tonke. For the Czech Republic, number 87, Alvin Tomasek. For Luxembourg, le 61, Cédric Vries.
Right at the top of the Kouwberg, of course, made famous by the Amstel Gold, as we take a look at the course for these championships. Alongside me, Simon Burney. Simon, you've walked the course a few times now. What have we got in store for the racing over the weekend?
I think the one word, Anthony, is mud. We've got a lot of mud. We've got a lot of climbs. We've got a very, very hard course that's we probably haven't seen at the World Championships for a number of years, I think. It's going to be very, very difficult. Technically, physically, probably the most extreme that we see in the sport.
Well, that's going to serve us well for all the 5 races that we're going to have.
It is. I think we're going to be talking about mud a lot in its various components. But yeah, it's this course. You know, we have World Cups here for a number of years, and it's always been an October race. And even in the dry in October, it's been a very challenging course. But now with the mud, it's going to add a new dimension.
Here's the former world champions on the screen. Of course, last year was Tom Pidcock, who's junior world champion, and last year for Great Britain was one of those days when they were powered by something else, where they ended up with all 3 riders on the podium taking first, second and third. Of course, powered by the memory of their friend Charlie Craig. There's the start list on the screen with the 3 Britons, of course, their second 2, 3 and 4. And this is the rest of the lineup. A huge field of riders who are going to take to the race start today. A massive field of juniors, Simon, which is great to see for the future of the sport. But certainly getting them through this first corner downhill and round the first bend is going to be interesting.
It is. 86 riders, I think, on the start list, and in the junior race, you know, it's so unpredictable, junior racing. We saw that last year, but on this course as well, there's going to be everybody's going to fall off at some point in this this weekend. It's how you deal with these crashes in this mud that we're going to see very soon on the first lap. Is going to make the difference probably between winning and losing in a lot of cases. How you deal with the adversity, how you cope with the bike changes, how you deal with all the slips and slides you're going to have, and you are going to end up on the floor at some point, for sure.
Your prediction last night at dinner was everyone will crash.
I'm pretty sure most people will, yeah. Yeah, and again, it's not rider mistakes that are going to cause that. It's just the conditions that we're going to see very soon. There's some big camber sections. There's some big sweeping corners, and the mud. It's varying so much. There's some sections where it's quite wet and sloppy, and you can ride it, and it's a hard surface underneath. And there's other sections where it's just really deep ruts, very sticky. There's going to be a lot of on and off the bike. Only one big run-up, but it depends how this mud develops, and if it dries out a little bit, becomes sticky, if there's going to be any actual flat running, which we haven't seen for a while. Yeah,
it's going to be an interesting look at the different weather conditions, because this morning when we got up, it wasn't actually that cold, but now it is much colder. As we go across the front row of the grid, there is Loris Roulier, who's many people think is the race favourite. There's Ben Tullet, the brother of course, who took the medal last year. And alongside him is the Dutch rider who has joined the front row of the grid, Ryan Kamp. And we didn't get a good lineup of everyone there, but over on the right-hand side, Jarno Bellens, 5th in the World Cup. As Simon, our first tape gets drawn back, the lights are on, and we are going to have the almighty charge right off the start line. Of course, if you have a false start, you're disqualified immediately. There they go, a massive push off the start. Little bit of a problem for the French rider, Théo Thomas, but now we're underway, and there's a really fast left-hander with another right straight after it.
Yeah, this first drop's pretty unpredictable. Slightly right-hander, and then you go into a big drop in about another 50, 60 metres. Just saw a crash at the back of the field there on that first one, and we're going to see that. They're pretty clear through that. For sure, the front 20, 30 riders, no problems, but yeah, there's going to be a challenge in the other races for sure, this start section. It's, again, we always talk about it, you can't really win a race at the start, but you can certainly put yourself on the back foot and put yourself in danger of having a hard day out if you don't get the start quite right.
Yeah, I mean, that start is so critical because we quite often see a longer starting straight. There's a minimum requirement, isn't there, for the starting straight. This one's pretty short before you go right onto that mud, so you have to have a really good start.
Yeah, I think it's about not losing position. You're not going to move up on a start like that. It is so short, but you don't want to go from the first row or the second row back to, you know, into the 20s. That's a sign of a bad start. But I think right now all the names are in the right place. I think the Swiss rider Roulier is probably coming into this as one of the hot favourites. Definitely Ben Tullett, I think, and Sean Flynn are going to be thereabouts. But again, you know, the junior racing, it is quite unpredictable at this level, and there's always names that pop up that you don't remember from World Cup races that maybe haven't ridden the World Cups. So,
yeah.
But again, if you haven't ridden the World Cups, you don't tend to have the good UCI ranking that you need to get the good start position, and as we're seeing, that is critical in modern day World Championships. You need to be in that kind of first 2 or 3 rows really to be in with a fighting chance. If you start further back than that, it just makes life very, very difficult for you.
Here we go then, as you see the riders trying to get round in that rut that's been created. I was talking to some of the riders in the lift last night in the hotel. The Belgians are staying. Whoops, a big crash. One rider going right underneath the tape, one of the Norwegian riders. And they were saying that these ruts are now so deep. But they're getting so deep now, you're getting down to rock. And a little, the odd tree rut here or there as Ben goes not into the pits. He goes on the left-hand side to decide not to take a bike change. So these ruts are really, really deep, which causes more problems. You're trying to stay in them, but they can cause problems when you're in them for punctures.
Yeah, there's a lot of tree roots coming up, especially the first section of the course that's in the trees, in the woods, and there's some rocks coming through as well. Not to the extent I don't think we're going to see that we had last year when the rocks and the granite were coming through in the mud on day 2 when the thaw happened and everybody was puncturing. But I don't think we're going to have those kind of issues. But like you say, it's going down to a surface that you maybe haven't seen in training. The other thing with these ruts, there's a couple of them are so deep, it's actually catching the derailleur on the rut. And,
whoops.
Yeah. I think
these two are down. Ben Tullett is down, and just got to get, you're going so quick around that corner because of course the camera doesn't show you how steep that little section is. Here we go. And you just slide in. Oh, that was lucky.
When you're in a rut like that, you don't really have a lot of choice where you go. You just follow the rut and pop out the other end. So, yeah, like you say, Tullett stayed in the rut and just put the Czech rider into the barriers.
The rider in the lead then is number 63, Loris Roulier, who is the Swiss rider, 4th in the World Cup. He won the Namur round of the World Cup. And thinking about the sort of rider who can win this race overall, as we see Sean Flynn of Great Britain working his way through the field, and he had a very low start section. Danish rider hitting the deck then, Joshua Goodnitz, and a few more riders sliding around. This is going to be one of those weekends.
It is.
I could tell already.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what I was trying to get across earlier. You know, it's just how you deal with this, because everyone's going to slide off on some point of the course. It's just keeping you calm, keeping your head together, and just getting on with the bike race and not letting these little mistakes frustrate you and get to you and start making you kind of panic a little bit and try too hard, because then you just end up making even more mistakes. It just compounds the frustration.
Sean Flynn's now moved up into 2nd place, and that's a good ride from him after his low ranking position on the grid, because he hasn't really been a high-profile rider in the World Cup, so he's now moved up. Ben Tullett has disappeared from that opening little section where he was riding strongly, but we'll see whether he comes back. And it's certainly the Swiss rider, Loris Roulier, the 4th in the World Cup, winner in Namur. And I was thinking about riders who might win this race, Simon. You think about, it's got to be a rider who doesn't give up, a rider who's tough, as Sean Flynn now disappears because it looks like he's got bike problems. you've got to be a strong rider, and a rider who wins in Namur is very, very strong.
Yeah, Namur is probably the hardest World Cup that we see on the circuit out of the 9 rounds. And it's similar to this in a lot of respects. It comes in December, so we've got the bad weather. It's a hilly circuit. The ground, when it is wet, is muddy, sticky. So it's similar to this. I think this is probably, it's definitely on a par with it for sure. And I think as we go through the weekend, again, we've got a lot of mud now. It's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. Yeah, we can see Tullett moving through there. He's just kind of in that leading group. He struggled last week at Hoogerheide World Cup with back pain. Been having treatment on it all week. Hopefully he's on his way back. A couple of the Americans as well in that lead group. But again, it's just this constant on and off. If you have a problem, just off the bike, on the bike. There's a lot of little banks in this section of the course near the pits that you can't quite see how steep they are. They're only like a few metres high, but they're almost vertical. And the problem is you don't have any approach speed to them, so you're difficult to ride. So again, just a little on and off the bike.
Well, this the last section, when you get towards the finish, is extremely tough, isn't it?
It is. It kind of starts here. This run-up is this camera angle doesn't do it justice. It is so steep. It's almost what you can see. Put your hand in front of you and you touch the ground. It's steep. Very difficult to run up. And this kind of starts the last section of the lap that is generally going uphill. Again, the first half of the lap tends to be descending. The second half is going up in different stages. But as you mentioned, the last 500 metres of the course, there's a very hard ride, stroke run, depending on the line you take and your ability, followed by 30-odd steps over a bridge and then into the finishing straight. So it is a hard finish. If anybody's together at the end of the race, then there's a definite selection part of the course very late on.
This is such a tough section. Let's just run through for you then what the current standings are, and things are moving around all the time. It's Loris Roulier of Switzerland who leads with Thomas Kopecky of the Czech Republic. Then it's Mies Hendricks of the Netherlands who's moved up. Ben Tullett now in 4th place. Ryan Kamp, Lane Meyer from the United States of America, Tyler Clark of Canada, Jarno Bellens of Belgium, as we go on board with a bit of mud. And up near the front, Ben Gomez and Scott Funston in 10th and 11th place.
8 nations represented in the top 10 riders there, which is unheard of at World Championship level. Tends to be dominated by 2 or 3 big, strong nations, but it's great to see Canadians, Americans, Brits, Czechs, Dutch in there. And at the moment, no Belgians, which is a bit of a surprise. You usually get a Belgian or 2 lurking in the top 10, but right now the best is Bellens in 8th, I think.
Looks that way. Jarno Bellens, the Belgian rider, who was one of the riders we thought might be up there 5th in the World Cup this season. But it would take maybe a lap or so for this to just settle down, for the riders to get into their rhythm and to get used to this course again, because it is changing all the time compared to when they trained yesterday, when it was raining all day. It got a little bit drier in the afternoon, but when training was on, it had just been pouring with rain pretty much all day. As we see these 2 riders neck and neck at the front, Loris Roulier there in the green, white and red of Switzerland. Coming back through the field now is Mies Hendricks. Ben Tullett is up there, and Lane Meyer of the United States of America, the riders who are certainly looking nice and strong at the front of this race so far. Onto the steps for the first time. It's a real trudge, isn't it, to the top of this course?
It is, and that last section we saw them running on yesterday was actually rideable. It was a little bit wetter. I say, like you mentioned, it was raining yesterday, and in training it was able to ride a lot of that climb, but obviously today a little bit stickier. But again, so you've got a difficult run, a quick remount, and then the 30-odd steps up the bridge. So, and this is leading into the finishing straight, so it is a very, very difficult end to the lap.
The completion of lap number 1 in this junior race, and we've got a group at the front, 3 kilometres of racing, and they're going to come through with a lap time of just around about 10 minutes and 15 seconds. 10:15 for that first lap. And that group of riders at the front, Kopecky, Czech Republic, Roulier of Switzerland, Hendricks of Netherlands, Tullett of Britain, Camp of the Netherlands, Meyer of the United States of America. That's the front group.
It's going to be difficult to get accurate race total times on a lap that's this slow. I think the distance of the lap is perfect. It's 2.9k, I think we saw on the opening lap map. But a 10-minute lap is going to be difficult for the commissaires to figure out the lap count. They'll be working on that. After the first lap, they post the number of laps to go during lap 2. But I mean, this could quite easily be a 4-lap race.
4 laps, that's it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that would give them a 40-minute race, which is what we're looking for the junior men. So, yeah. And again, for the other categories, it's going to be, because I think, you know, the under 23 women, the next race is going to be probably close to a minute slower than this one. So again, it's do you go short in the race or do you go long in the race for the commissaire decision on lap count? Okay.
Well, there's always lots of discussion about how long the races are going to be, and the commissaires have got a tricky bit of calculation to do here, because of course you've got the start, which gives an extra few seconds, maybe 6 or 7 seconds on it, and you want to make sure you're over 40. But if you put a junior race which is well over 50, that's not a good move. So they have got a tricky time now,
difficult,
right now.
Yeah, for sure. But I think we'll see a 4-lap for this one. I think the more difficult decision will be in the under 23 women's race. I think whether they do 3 or 4, which
yeah. Let's wait and see what happens.
Yep.
Right, let's see what's going on at the front. And it's Kopecky now who's starting to push on a little bit. Seems to be trying to force the pace. The rider from the United States of America is starting to look stronger all the time. Lane Meyer, who is finding his way through the field and seems to be enjoying these sort of conditions. American cyclocross growing in stature all the time, particularly in the women's race. When we see that later on, they've got some fantastic women contenders for this world title overall. And Lane Meyer is putting himself in a strong position here. Ben Tullett on his wheel, and Ben's brother was second last year, second in the British Championships this season to Sean Flynn, who has now disappeared after that bike problem. But into the pits now, and Simon, I thought we might see bike changes every half lap, but we're seeing them not necessarily every half lap.
No. It's I say there is a lot of mud, but obviously it's not causing too many issues with gears, derailleurs, chains, pedals. Pedals is the one normally. Again, now with disc brakes, that clears up a lot of the frame clogging issues that we used to see a few years ago before, well, with cantilever brakes. But yeah, definitely bike a lap, and I think we might see the elite men maybe go for half-lap changes. They'd be interesting to see what the strategies are over the weekend. But
oh, a little bit of a crash then. 2 riders hitting the deck. Always better to crash on the left-hand side than the right, otherwise you break that derailleur. And this now is being pushed on by the American rider, Lane Meyer, who has hit the front. He seems to be riding really, really well on this course. He's picked his way all the way through the field and now going clear.
Yeah, he was also running when a few of the other riders were trying to ride as well, and he was very comfortable running, looked good. But that section there riding very strong. Opened up a gap on Kopecky there.
Well, let's see how Lane Meyer can open up his advantage on the rest of the field. These riders just finding this one little section pretty tricky.
If you actually see any of the green sections on the course, which are quite rare, is where they actually the UCI sectioned off those parts of the course for training, didn't allow the riders to train on certain parts of the course just to try and preserve it a little bit. Just put a parallel course in just with some temporary tape and stakes for training. It gave the riders an impression of where they were going to go during the race. They kind of tried to replicate the corners, but just kept the surface a little bit more preserved. And I think we noticed that in the pits. They weren't allowed to ride through the pits in training the last couple of days, and the pits right now are green. That's going to change as well with the water running down from the pressure washers, which is at the top of the pits.
To add to even more mud.
Yeah.
Oops, Kopecky just has a little trip there. So Lane Meyer, who comes from Harwinton, Connecticut, is the rider who is firmly in the lead right now. He's opened up a little bit of a gap, but now Ben Tullett is coming back to him slowly but surely.
It is so slippery as well that you saw them running there, pushing the bikes. To run with the bike on the shoulder is normally the preferred method. It's an easier way to run, but it's so slippery that you actually need the bike for a little bit of balance and support. It is, again, falling over with your bike on your shoulder is not a fun thing to do during a race. So, but again, pushing a bike running in this kind of mud is difficult, adds to the effort. But you can see them on this cambered section. I think we saw Flynn actually on the lap before falling over running with his bike on the shoulder. And yes, it's not a good position to put yourself in.
No, and now we see going to the front Ben Tullett of Great Britain, who's trying to press the pace on a little bit more. Immediately going with him is the Swiss rider that we've been talking about a lot. Then Kopecky. Mara drops back just a little bit, and the Dutch rider who's with them is Ryan Kamp. Ryan Kamp, 7th in the World Cup. As Ben Tullett gets off the bike for that little section.
Yeah, that's a little banks I was mentioning earlier on this. You can see where it's green now. They're actually training where the spectators are standing on this on the brown section, racing on the green right now.
Well, they managed to make it a bit muddy for the spectators, of which there are very many already here in Valkenburg for this weekend of racing. Massive crowd enjoying the action, screens around the place so everyone can keep an eye on exactly what is going on. And I'm sure we're going to see the crowd just get bigger and bigger as the weekend continues, and particularly when we get to this afternoon and we see the elite women's race. I think we're going to have a massive crowd for that, as Ben Tullett now of Great Britain starts to push the pace on just a little bit more. He's trying to see whether anyone is able to go with him. If you would like to send any questions to Simon and I, then please feel free at UCI_CX is where you need to send your questions, at UCI_CX for Simon Burney and I, and we'll answer any of your questions as to what is going on. So in terms of tyre selection for today, what will everyone have selected, and what will be the tyre pressure they're on? Because that's a really important discussion that was going on yesterday.
It is. It's a big part of cyclocross. The whole equipment choice and tyre choice is the main part of that, and tyre pressure, depending on the tyre choice as well. But on a course like this, it's the best mud tyre you've got in your arsenal of weapons, the most grip you can get. And again, generally on this course, there are some roots in this early section of the lap in the woods. There are some rocks poking through. So tyre pressure is something where you want as soft as you can go, just and having that risk of pinch puncturing on the roots or the rocks. So talking to riders yesterday, most of them 1.1, 1.2 bars, which is that kind of 14 to 16 psi. Helen Wyman was saying that she'd like to run 14 psi, but she was actually running 15 just to put an extra psi in against the rocks. But looking at Ben Tullett there, that is a handy lead that he's just carved out on that last section.
Yeah.
Tullett won the Koppenberg race in Belgium. It's not part of the World Cup series, but it's part of one of the big Belgian series, and he won that race convincingly, and that is one of the tougher races as well. He's a mountain biker, likes the hills, likes to change the gradient. Obviously quite comfortable in the mud as well, looking at this, but a bit of family rivalry, I think, trying to put one over on his brother from second place last year.
Yeah, exactly. So he's going well, Ben Tullett, at the front of the race, and opening up, what, about 11 seconds, I think, now, Simon, on the rest of the field. Thanks for all your messages. Jack Clarkson, DeRaff have asked, where is Sean Flint? He's disappeared out of the race. He had a bike problem, and I'll just try and have a little look as to where he is, just in case I can pick him up. But I think he's lost a huge amount of time. 39th now, 1:54 down. He was right at the front of the race. Ben initially, then Sean, then Ben back at the front of the race, and
yeah, I think we were confusing Ben with Sean that first half lap.
Were we?
Yeah.
I apologise for that.
It was Sean that was up there. Ben was just a little bit further back, but Ben is certainly in control of this right now.
He is now really turning the pressure on the rest of the field. End of lap number 2, and it is Ben Tullett at the front, 20 minutes and 29 seconds. His lap that time was a 10:14, 17 kilometres an hour for Ben Tullett. And the next group of riders come through, and they are 14 seconds down. We are going to have a 4-lap race, as Simon predicted. And this is a healthy lead now for Ben Tullett of Great Britain as he tries to stretch his advantage on the rest of the field. And Kopecky is getting a little bit concerned now, and he's trying to come back, plunging his way off that drop-off and just trying to get the rest of the riders to ignite the pace a little, because 14 seconds is a big, big lead.
14 seconds is useful. It's a really nice cushion to have at this stage of the race. It means that he can just concentrate on keeping it smooth, reducing the number of mistakes. He's not going to eradicate them all, but just it means he doesn't have to panic if he does start slipping and sliding. And I think it's right now this is a great situation to be in for Ben Tullett.
Yeah, he's in a very strong position here as he now seems to... He was struggling on the first lap just to find the line, but now where he's out in front, he just seems to be surfing it through the corners. He seems to be enjoying the time out in the lead here, and actually now has got the measure of the course.
Yeah, I talked to him a couple of days ago when he'd been training, and he just got a huge grin on his face. He was loving it. He just having so much fun out there. And I think once you've got through the stressy part of that first lap where you're not quite sure how the legs feel, again for Ben, he's had a bit of back trouble. If the back's going to be okay, chain off there. You know, once he's kind of figured out where he's at in the big scheme of things, then, you know, then you can make a move like he did and start to enjoy it a little bit. And I think right now, even things like being able to go into the pits regularly to get a bike, you lose a second or two in going into the pit lane, but it just means that you can do it and keep your lead and keep the bike in good shape.
The leading rider then, Ben Tullett of Great Britain, Thomas Kopecky second, Ryan Camp is in third, Lane Meyer of the United States of America in fourth. Just to take some of your questions, in the crosshairs have said, Simon, what about toe spike choice? Looks like Kopecky might have chosen wrong or none.
Yeah, and again, it's something else now that's you know, a choice to be made depending on the conditions. And again, I think I'd be using the longest studs I could possibly find in my toolbox. I think it's yeah, you just need grip, and a modern cycling shoe for cyclocross is so stiff that you don't get a lot of flex in it. You do need a big toe spike, as long as it can get to try and give you some traction when you're running around on this surface. And like you say, Kopecky was sliding around, and I think, yeah, maybe didn't quite make the right choice. But and again, you know, there's options. You can get spikes made out of aluminium. You can get rubber, like a football stud. Yeah, different sizes, different compounds. And again, it's just something else that you figure out during training, during practice laps.
That was a lovely little shot there of the leader as he just leant the bike over in that rut and just let it slide around, just scooting his way around the corner. Ben Tullett, the leader, 14 seconds his advantage. And a few of the rest of you asking, James Smith saying, do you think the Belgians will win any titles? Is it the first time that they might not win anything?
It's possible. I think in Sanne-Cant we've got one of the big favourites in the women's race, and I think in Wout van Aert we've got one of the big favourites in the men's race. And I think it's just going to be a matter of who gets it right on the day as to whether those two regain their rainbow jerseys or lose them to somebody else. It's going to be an exciting couple of days for sure, I think, to see how the Belgians, you know, the power is shifting. I think, you know, a few years ago we saw Belgians clean sweeping podiums in multiple categories, and you know, those days are yeah, not gone, but certainly changing. Again, you know, we saw a Brit clean sweep last year in the junior race, and we would never have expected that. We'd have expected it from the Belgians in the last few years, but not. Yeah. And again, you know, just mentioning earlier, we've got 8 nations in the top 10 on the opening lap of this race. something we would have never have seen that 5 or 6 years ago.
No, and that's great to see that the sport is spreading its talent. But the rider in second place, Thomas Kopecky of the Czech Republic, is now starting to edge closer to Ben Tullett. He seems to now have got the momentum, and Tullett is dropping away a little. Always difficult to be out in the front like this and keep the pressure on. 8 seconds now, the advantage. It was 14, so Kopecky's brought back 6 seconds on Ben Tullett. This rider from the Czech Republic, we know, is really strong. We know that he's one of the race favourites. Junior World Cup winner in 2017, and he won 2 rounds of the World Cup, one in Zolder and one in Bodensee, where we went last night to, well, we didn't go to Bodensee itself. We actually went to the presentation of the World Champs, which seems like it's going to be a very good World Championship.
Yeah, I think it'd be totally different to this one. I think different course, different surface, but by the sea.
Just looking there, there's the muddy shoes and bike of the race leader Ben Tullett, who is now being caught by Thomas Kopecky. And there is Kopecky edging his way back now to the leader, and Tullett now has got to try and put the pressure on again. Jean-Paul Montreux, who just asked what's the temperature. It's 2 degrees centigrade outside, and the promise of snow all night, the entire night, but we'll see if that happens. Daraf says, is there a rule to determine your position in the pits?
Yeah, so the way the pit works is the team managers meeting the day before the race. There's a team nation ranking, and the commissaire that's leading that meeting goes through the teams in nation ranking order, asking them which pit post they want to take. So in this one, they would have started with Great Britain as the leading nation from last year's World Championships. And the Brits would have, I think they chose pit box 11 from memory, which puts them kind of closer. The pit is on a bit of a hill. The higher section of the pit is a little bit drier. It's also closer to the pressure washers, which for the mechanics is a big deal. If you're in pit 1, it's a long run to the washers with the bike, get the bike clean, run all the way back down, and also the water drains back down, so all the water ends up in pit 1 as well. So
right, so you don't want to be standing there. By the end of the weekend,
it's not a fun place to work.
Right.
So, yeah, it's 15 boxes in the pits, and the nations choose based on their ranking.
Over the top of the climb, we're on lap number 3 of the 4 laps in this UCI Cyclocross World Championship for junior men. Now 2 riders combined at the front. They are Ben Tullett of Great Britain and Thomas Kopecky of the Czech Republic. Tullett looks like he's just going to edge Kopecky into the lead, almost at a standstill up there, just recovering. This is maybe a little tactical move by the looks of things. He doesn't look to be suffering. Kopecky, meanwhile, has just put in a massive effort to come back to the front of the race.
Yeah, Tullett stretching his back on that pavement section, definitely. Hopefully he's not hurting too badly, but yeah, did the right thing, put Kopecky on the front, just sit and follow him. Take a bit of a breather. Don't stress too much about the lead that you lost, and figure out your game plan for the last lap. So,
well, let's see what happens on the last lap. We're on lap number 3 of 4 right now. Thanks for all your messages at UCI_CX. And the race leader right now is Thomas Kopecky of the Czech Republic in the blue, and behind him is the British rider Ben Tullett. We'll see whether these 2 riders stay at the front of this race. Just to give you an update on the top 10, Lane Marr of the United States of America is 10 seconds back in 3rd. Pim Ronnar of the Netherlands, 16 seconds back in 4th. Gerben Kuipers is in 5th, 18 seconds back. And then we have Mies Hendricks and Ryan Kamp of the Netherlands tied together in 6th and 7th. And Tom Linder of Germany. I was trying to remember which flag that was. Tom Linder in 8th. Luc Verburg of Luxembourg next. Also the Netherlands in 9th, and Ryan Courtens of Belgium in 10th place. That's the current standings. So we've got a little bit of a race now at the front, and we've got a race for the bronze medal, no doubt whatsoever. There are a lot of riders in with a chance of taking the bronze medal. So they're just, it's one of those days. You just have to keep going, don't give up, because 2 riders in front of you could crash and you could be right back up there in the possible scenario where you suddenly take a medal and you weren't expecting to have one. Oops, saw a trip there. Hitting the deck almost. That could be painful. Well, let's see what happens on this final lap. Coming up to the end of lap number 3, and it's 8 kilometres or nearly 9 kilometres gone, 8.8, and at the front of the race, it's Ben Tullett and Thomas Kopecky are the 2 riders who are trying now to take this victory. That was a slow lap, so I'm wondering whether Tullett slowed up on purpose or whether he's suffering a little bit. That was a 10:32 lap compared to a 10:14 of the lap before.
Yeah, and that 15 seconds is the lead that got etched out by Kopecky to come back to him. So Tullett, I think, was the one that slowed, not necessarily Kopecky putting in a 15-second faster lap. Kopecky putting the pressure on a little bit now.
And Tullett looks like he's having to work extremely hard now to come back to the wheel of Thomas Kopecky, who is stretching the pace and trying to go away from the British rider. Tullett in a smaller gear there as he pedals back, so he's suddenly had to put in a little bit more effort, but he goes to the front. He didn't like that little acceleration of Thomas Kopecky. He doesn't want to be caught out. And Kopecky sneaks in onto the wheel in second place. They're going front to back constantly now. Kopecky takes the front line. He wants to dominate this race and take it on and put Ben Tullett in a position where he makes an error. Onto this little uphill section. This is the final lap of this Junior World Championship. Tullett's working hard. Kopecky is looking really strong right now. He is stretching this pace. This is the rider in 3rd place, Lane Maher of the United States of America, who's 12 seconds back. And again, Simon, he's just got to keep pushing, because if one of these riders makes a mistake, then he could go into the silver medal position. So you just don't know, even right now, where the medals are going.
The medals are looking pretty set right now. I think it's the order. I think Mayer is comfortably in 3rd. I think it's going to be a big mistake by one of the first 2 to let him into the gold or silver medal position. But instead, that Kopecky just taking a few more seconds out of Tullett, I think. If we're getting that long shot right.
Yeah, he's disappearing. Look at that. The speed of Kopecky now. No, that's Tullett.
Excuse me.
So Tullett's, no, it was Tullett who's gone on the attack from that long camera shot. So again, another big acceleration by Ben Tullett of Great Britain. He's trying to break the will here of Thomas Kopecky. Into the pits, out the other side. You can see there, I love this camera shot in the pits, where they're just, you can hear the mechanics and the coaches just shouting at their riders.
Yeah, Nick Walling there, give him his bike. Nick, one of the most experienced mechanics of the Great Britain team, along with Dan Savine. It's the A-team in the pits today for these junior boys, and they'll be getting all the encouragement they need. But you can see the depth of that. That is up to the derailleur, so you've got to be really careful that that's just not taking the bottom of the derailleur, flicking it round and snapping that off. One of the, I'm not sure who it was, one of the British junior men snapped a chain in training this morning as well, just pre-riding the course before the race. So again, without a chain, your race is over. So it's just always this last lap. Fingers crossed that you don't have one of the derailleur chain issues, because they're the ones that just derail you. A flat tyre, you know, you can ride it, you can lose time, but you can keep a respectable position. But anything gear and chain related, it's game over.
Well, we've had a change in 3rd place, and this is a big acceleration. Pim Ronhaar of the Netherlands, and the Dutch have got 3 riders in a row So they're in third, fourth, fifth, and Lane Meyer now in sixth place for the United States of America. Big move by the Dutch riders. A bit of motivation going on here in front of their home crowd. So the lone leader is Ben Tullett of Great Britain, Thomas Kopecky of the Czech Republic, Pim Ronhaar to give the Dutch a first medal. Could be a good one for them. Ryan Kamp is up there. Mies Hendricks is there now. So the Dutch really making a big, big charge to try and get to the front of this race. Nervous moment, Simon, for anyone who's watching who's a fan of Ben Tullett.
It is. It's just not being able to see the shot to see what the gaps are like. It's we get a good view of Ben, but like we had a good view of the American half a lap ago. We thought, well, I certainly thought he would got a bit of clean air behind him, but then suddenly the Dutch come through and that gets wiped out. So it's still a handful of seconds back to Kopecky.
Kopecky's looking tired to me, and I wonder whether the Dutch are going to come back to him. In fact, I think they're not that far behind. They seem to be motivating each other to at least get a medal here.
The German as well.
Yeah, he's coming back. Tom Lindner.
This fight for third is, I mean, that was the American now, Mahone. He's back
seventh now.
7th or 8th, yeah.
Look at this, the gap is closing on Kopecky now, and two Dutch riders making a big, big move, and the leading rider in the Dutch trio, in fact, quartet now, as they move up, is Pim Ronhaar, and he is the rider who's going for the medal. Meyer has suddenly cracked a little here. He really looks to be suffering. And this is Kuipers, the Belgian rider. So the leading rider right now is still Ben Tullett of Great Britain. Kopecky in second place. Pim Ronhaar closing in slowly on Kopecky, using every little bit where he can get a little bit of speed. Oh, Tullett.
That's one of the banks. Yeah, they're not rideable, I think. Hard to get up on your feet, actually. They are so steep. It's just like a little vertical wall. Unfortunately, we can't see it, but
just takes all the strength out of you.
You just get your centre of balance wrong, and you end up just kind of stepping backwards again, and you've got no momentum to get up it at all. It's a difficult one. It's 5 meters in height and length, but it's one of the most difficult sections of the course. But we're into the last part now, where if you've got the legs, you can make a difference. There's the big run. You've got 2 more big camber sections, and then the last part with the half rideable half run, followed by the 30 steps. And I think whoever gets to the top of those steps first, it's in the bag. And right now, Tullett's looking good.
Ben Tullett
certainly looking better than he was 2 laps ago on that run-up.
He's looking pretty strong. Tullett now has a 12-second advantage on Kopecky, 19 seconds on Ronhaar. Kopecky just picking his way up that little climb. Ronhaar looks to be strong for the bronze, and if not the silver. Tullett is going for gold, and Great Britain, of course, last year had first, second and third. His brother was a silver medalist last year.
That rider in the background just been lapped. Don't be too concerned that it's somebody coming back to him.
Ben Tullett coming up now towards the 39-minute mark. This is the last lap. He's not got far to go. He's got this little climb, and then he's got this run in towards the finish. The coaches and mechanics screaming at him through the pits area.
Yeah,
this has been a great ride.
No bike change for the last half lap. Understandable. Pressure's on. You just need to keep the seconds that you've got.
He's just got to find
and that's good, actually. That's good for Tullett. So a couple of extra seconds gained there over Kopecky. Kopecky and the Dutch as well going in for clean bikes for this last section. So Tullett took a gamble, and it's whether you extend your lead by not going in the pit. And the bike's not looking too bad there. He's obviously happy enough with it to have not changed, so
he looks pretty happy. Well, you said, Simon, last night to me that you saw Ben Tullett. He had a huge smile on his face. He was out on the course. He thought it was perfect. The mud was going to suit him. His brother took a podium finish last year. He's heading for gold right now. for Great Britain. This is a great ride by this youngster. This Dutch rider is coming back. Ryan Kamp getting closer and closer to Kopecky. Tullett now onto the run-up. He's just got to pick his way up here. Then he's just got to leave himself something. Those legs are almost buckling, a little slip. Then he's got to go up this tough ramp all the way to the top.
It's just a little breath of recovery here on this one section, and you're just off your bike again for the 30 steps.
Here we go. 30 steps now. Then it is the run into the finish. Ben Tullett of Great Britain going for the first world title of these UCI Cyclocross World Championships. This is the junior title. Tullett goes now down the ramp. It's not far to the finish. Last year his brother was a medalist. Tullett looks around. He's got no one in his sight. This is going to be the first world title. Ben Tullett turns the corner. He is the world champion. He has ridden a perfect race. Ben Tullett, Great Britain, takes back-to-back victories in the junior title for Britain. Ben Tullett rides for Charlie. He wins. He takes the medal. He takes the rainbow bands. Gold for Ben Tullett. 41 minutes and 19 seconds. What a performance. Well, where's the silver? We need to see the silver medalist coming in. The silver he holds on, Thomas Kopecky. And now the sprint for the bronze. Thomas Kopecky takes silver. And the bronze is going to be Ryan Kamp of the Netherlands. What a race that was.
That was some race. I can't help feeling the Dutch left it a little bit too late before that big charge on the last, what, 3/4 of a lap to go, because they looked fast on that last lap, and I think the home crowd as well were trying to bring them home, and yeah, to one medal, but it could have been a little bit different. But great race by Ben Tullett. He rode it smartly, kept it under control, minimised the mistakes. Kopecky was obviously able to come back to him a couple of times and put him under pressure, but Tullett kept it cool, and a very well-deserved rainbow jersey at the end of the day for him.
It was a really intelligent ride. When Kopecky came back to him, he almost looked like, right, OK, you've come back. The two of us are still at the front. I can have a rest now, just recover, and then I'm going to hit you again.
Yeah, he played it smartly. It's very easy once you've got 15, 16 seconds and you lose that lead to feel like the person that's come back to you is stronger and they're going to ride away. It's hard to keep mentally strong in that situation. But Tullett played it smart.
En geef ze applaus, alle renners die de wedstrijd beëindigen, dat hebben ze dubbel en dik verdiend. Aankomst ook met applaus voor een van de jongens die wellicht toch wel wat ontgoocheld zal zijn na deze wedstrijd. Een van de grote favorieten, Lovis Hourier. Lovis Hourier op de 16e plaats terechtgekomen, op weg naar de 17e plaats Emil Lindgren. Met Tyler Clark, met 8 uur Luc Russen, Anthony Courière. En we nodigen graag iedereen uit voor het grote huldigingspodium, dames en heren, hier heel dicht in de buurt van de finish.
Wow, a lovely interview there by Ben Tullett, dedicating his victory to the memory of Charlie Craig, and a lovely dedication by him.
Yeah, it would have been a day for Charlie as well. Charlie, like his dad Nick Craig, loves the mud, loves the slippy and slidey. So, yeah, like you say, a lovely tribute from Ben there for Charlie.
Of course, everyone is invited.
A very intelligent race, I would say, by Ben Tullett. There's the unofficial results of today's UCI Cyclocross World Championship for Juniors. Ben Tullett takes the world title. Thomas Kopecky in second place for the Czech Republic. Ryan Kamp of the Netherlands in third place. There's the rundown of the top 20 riders. It is a muddy, muddy day out here, and it's just going to get even more rutted and even more muddy as the rest of the weekend continues. Congratulated there by Dean Downing, who is a former pro rider who coaches Ben Tullett. Well, he's coached him well.
He has coached him well, yeah. There's a bit of knowledge in the Downing family, so
just a little bit.
Yeah, not much cyclocross knowledge, but obviously the getting somebody in shape knowledge is there with Dean, and yeah, he's been so supportive of Ben this year. You know, I follow him on the social medias, and Dean's really into getting the best performance he can out of his riders, and I think in Ben there he's just crowned his coaching career as well for now.
Well, his first world champion as a coach, there's no doubt about that. So Dean Downing, of course, his brother rode for Team Sky and other top teams. Dean was one of those Criterium riders who was very well known in Great Britain, but he raced in Belgium for a long time for many of the Belgian squads. And he knows he's a tough bike rider, Dean Downing. He doesn't really take any prisoners, and he knows how to get the best out of you.
Yeah, and I think in that situation he can get him in shape, and I think Ben's got a good team of people around him that can add to the package, whether it's a cyclocross specific stuff, and you've got people like Matt Ellis now, that's a Great Britain team manager, Simon Watts, they all understand cyclocross. So any of the gaps that Dean can't fill, then you've got the perfect team around to fill in those gaps. And things like equipment choices, and like I'm saying, I'm sure Dean will be the first to admit he probably doesn't know what tyre pressure to suggest to Ben, but there's other people in the team, and riders now at that level, they've got so many resources to call on, and it's about putting a team around you that you're comfortable with and you can communicate with, and you can get the best information necessary, and you kind of make informed choices then as the rider.
We wait then for the podium presentation of today's junior race. That starts us off very nicely with the Czech Republic rider getting silver, Kopecky, and the Dutch rider Ryan Kamp taking the bronze medal.
So the question off Geoff Watson asking about the schedule for the weekend. I think we've got in an hour's time the under-23 women, and then an hour after that one finishes the elite women, and then tomorrow 10 o'clock UK, 11 o'clock Central Europe for the under-23 men, and 2 o'clock UK, 3 o'clock Central Europe for the elite men. And I think actually sitting here, Anthony, we're looking at a possible repeat in the under-23 women's race with some immense British talent in that race, with Evie Richards, an elite World Cup winner this year, goes into the under-23 race as the hot favourite. Won the title 2 years ago as the first year as under-23. Medalled last year, and yeah, after the winter she's had, we could be seeing another British podium in what, an hour and 40 minutes time, I guess.
Let's see what happens. A few of you didn't hear the interview with Ben Tullett, and just to summarise what he said, am I dreaming? And the interviewer said, you're definitely not dreaming. And he said, well, that's so much the better then. And he said the last lap he was purely driven by the memory of Charlie Craig, and he dedicates his victory to Charlie as we wait for him to appear on the podium. He didn't say much more than that. That's all he had to say.
I don't think you need to say much more than that,
exactly.
Really. No.
Lovely interview with him. So those of you who didn't hear it, our apologies, but that's exactly what he said in summary. A fantastic race to get us started on this weekend. As we look across here, already a big crowd. The usual costumes are out. There's a bunch of robot, like kind of Lego built guys walking across in front of our commentary box right now. They're making their way to the podium. And I've seen Where's Wally? If you spot in the crowd, you'll be able to spot Where's Wally in the crowd right now. There's the mud as we get the results of the Men's Junior Cyclocross World Championship here in Valkenburg. Ben Tullett of Great Britain succeeds Thomas Pidcock as the world champion. Pidcock took the victory last season. And there's the rundown of the top 20 riders. Those of you who want to send Simon and I any questions over the weekend, please use @UCI_CX. Coach Justin, proud of your American riders. Yep, Lane Meyer eventually ended up in 5th place. Scott Funston was in 13th place. They rode a very intelligent race as well. I just think Lane, just those legs gave out in that last lap a little bit. A few more of you. There you are. There's on the screen the rest of the riders. Working our way to the top 50-odd riders who finished. Still riders coming in, even now, and we're a few minutes since the race finished.
Well, we saw a rider getting lapped in a 4-lap race on a 10 and a half minute lap. So that shows the difference between the front and the back of the race. It's a good 10-minute difference over 35 minutes of racing when the rider got lapped. So normally we don't see lap. There's an 80% regulation that removes the riders just before they get lapped. Difficult on a lap this length though to get that procedure working smoothly all the time.
Next race will be the under-23 World Championship for women. There's a couple of questions I noticed on @UCI_CX about there not being a junior women's race, but it's taken a little bit of time to get to that point, and there now will be parity for juniors, and I think I'm right in saying 2020 will be the first Women's Junior World Championship.
Yep.
And then there will be parity on everything.
There will, yes. So I think they introduced the under-23 women's race category in Zolder a couple of years ago, and they extended that age category to include the junior women, and that's encouraged more of the junior women to compete in the World Championships for sure, to a point where now there's enough riders to split it out and to give them their own championship. And as you mentioned, I think in Switzerland in 2020 that'll be the first separate junior women's race, which is it's great news, and it's all going in the right direction.
Yep, a lot more we'll talk about over the weekend, where things have been passed as far as races, rules, and what's happening with World Championships. That's all. A lot of things were decided yesterday, and we went to a little reception last night for the World Championships in Denmark, and we found out a little bit about what was agreed yesterday.
Yeah, the UCI Management Committee meet at the Road World Championships, the Cyclocross World Championships, and then a third meeting in June at a neutral location, not at an event, to discuss and to decide and to ratify all the rule changes that have been put forward by the various commissions of the UCI, different disciplines of the sport. It's also when the calendars get approved for the years to come. So we now know the Cyclocross World Cup calendar for next year. That's been published, and we can talk about that during the day, and then World Championships for the next few years as well are attributed.
While we wait now for this podium presentation, thanks for all your messages. We've noticed some of the flags on the screen are not quite right, so we'll make sure that that message gets passed on. A little bit of a bug in the graphics. The mud's got in already. And it's getting colder, and it's going to snow, apparently. It wouldn't be a Dutch World Championships without it. Here we go with the presentation of the UCI Cyclocross World Championships Junior Men.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear cyclocross fans from all over the world, may we have your attention please for the official UCI award ceremony after the World Championships Cyclocross in the men's junior category.
Dames en heren, hartelijk welkom bij de officiële huldigingplechtigheid van het Wereldkampioenschap Veldrijden 2018 bij de junioren.
In third place, taking the bronze medal, representing the Netherlands.
Ryan Kamp op de derde plaats. Vertegenwoordigt Nederland de bronzen medaille. Ryan Kamp.
Ryan Kamp, who was 7th in the World Cup this year, takes the bronze medal, the first medal for the host nation.
Vice President of the UCI. Bronze medal for Ryan Kamp.
De bronzen medaille uitgereikt door meneer José Manuel Pérez, de vicepresident van de UCI Internationale Wielerunie.
In second place, the winner of the silver medal, representing the Czech Republic.
Op de tweede plaats namens de Tsjechische Republiek geven we een geweldig applaus. De zilveren medaille voor Tomasz Kopecky.
Tomasz Kopecky of the Czech Republic. He takes the silver medal.
Out of the hands of Mr. José Manuel Pérez, Vice President of the UCI.
Tomasz Kopecky kreeg zojuist in handen van José Manuel Pérez, vicepresident van de UCI, de prachtige zilveren medaille uitgereikt.
And then, ladies and gentlemen, our new world champion, the winner of the gold medal, representing Great Britain.
Dames en heren, hier komen we de nieuwe wereldkampioen 2018 namens Groot-Brittannië. Geef een geweldig applaus. Ben Tullet!
Ben Tullet, the new world champion in the men's junior category, receiving his
Ben Tullet is the new world champion. He pulls on the rainbow bands. A very proud moment for that young rider.
Vicepresident namens UCI, de Cubaan José Manuel Pérez, deelt hier de prachtige regenboogtrui en de gouden medaille uit aan de nieuwe wereldkampioen bij de juniorenveldrijder Ben Tullet.
Well, that picture says it all, doesn't it? He's taking some big, deep breaths right now.
That's the same smile he had on his face after training yesterday when he saw the course. Yeah, he knew it was going to be a good day. I think he was very happy with it, super motivated.
Representative of the local.
Yeah, it must be great as a rider when you get to a course and just think, this is it. This is the course that I've wanted, and it's going to go right.
It is, but it's a difficult time, you know. Say he didn't finish the World Cup last weekend. 6 days ago, he wasn't able to finish a World Cup race because of back problems, you know. So you've got you know your legs are good, you know you're in good shape. But just that whole thing about knowing if you can recover from the obviously pain that forced you out of a race to bring it round in 6 days is hard. But obviously, got the right therapist working on him, and it's all good.
Ladies and gentlemen,
and now the national anthem of Great Britain.
Dames en heren, mag u aandacht voor het nationale volkslied van Groot-Brittannië.
The world champion, Ben Tullet, after a great race.
Ryan Kamp, Tomasz Kopecky, and our new world champion, Ben Tullet!
There's our podium. Ryan Kamp of the Netherlands, Thomas Kopecky of the Czech Republic, Ben Tullett of Great Britain in the rainbow bands. I think I'm right in saying he'd be able to ride in that all next season.
I think you're right. Is he a first year? He is. He's a first-year junior. Yeah, that's good because normally you don't get to see the junior world champion. They tend to be the second year.
Yeah,
which was the case with Pidcock last year.
Yeah,
that's great news. Yeah.
So he's going to sign the rainbow jersey. I think that smile's going to stay on there for about a year. So now the experience as a world champion of all the things that you've got to do straight after the race, the signing the jersey, little press conference. But a great experience nonetheless. There we are, there's our podium, and we've just seen the first race of the World Championships. We're going to be back. We're going to bring you the coverage of the women's under-23 race, which will come up pretty shortly at 1 o'clock. We'll leave you with the highlights as Ben Tullett takes the first world title of these championships. Bye for now.